I am Sujay Dutta. I am a director in the data and analytics practice of Evaluserve. I have been practicing data scientist for over a decade and a half. And I have worked uh, for over a decade in the financial services sector, wherein I have built data science models leveraging statistics and machine learning and neural nets for over a decade. I honestly think that with the advent of LLMs, technology as a whole has taken a huge leap. And you can kind of equate it to the cognitive development in humans, which has been a watershed moment in the evolution of mankind. It's kind of like that. And with that being said, just as our cognitive abilities, when we developed it, gave us, to think right or wrong, likewise, generative AI gives us the ability to use it the right way or the wrong way. And it can take any way we basically steer it to. And as a practitioner of data science and AI for long, I'm really excited with the opportunities that generative AI presents in gaining efficiencies within business processes or in increasing productivity of business processes. Because end of the day, every business process is really oriented to generate something, maybe a report, maybe an approval, maybe some numbers or anything of that sort, right? And generative AI can certainly play a more and more important role in the days to come. Just that we need to be aware of certain pitfalls, and we need to be able to handle those pitfalls. And some of them are issues with trust, issues with governance, issues with compliance, both at the regulatory end as well as with experience and data security per se. We have been experimenting with Gen AI for quite some time now. In fact, our journey with Gen AI started prior to the advent of the LLMs that we see in today's context, be it ChatGPT or be it Google Bard or be it Google Gemini, which was just launched in the last week. And what we have learned is that harnessing the true capabilities of Gen AI really depends on how you can balance the risks that are associated with Gen AI. All the solutions that we have developed so far is basically circled around balancing the pitfalls that comes with leveraging Gen AI. And in that context, we've been able to really build quite a few solutions that are very business focused and outcome focused. And it also balances out the risk, regulatory risks and other risks that are generally associated with Gen AI. And I'll come in a bit on how we have been able to really balance those risks. But just to give you a viewpoint of three different solution lines that we are heavily investing in, and we are also in the process of scaling some of those solutions out with real clients and real projects. So one is Genie, which is integrated framework that we have developed that basically marries the best of robotics and the best of Gen AI together, because we took a viewpoint that you need to bring in a concrete element of automation while leveraging Gen AI in true business context. It's where the concept of Genie was born. And the framework essentially enables a business user to interact with data directly, and by cutting the requirement of let's say technical resources who does the interpretation between the databases and business folks. Just to give you an example, imagine a situation: a financial analyst who works for the finance department can now directly interact with your finance database without really knowing or understanding heads or tails of SQL or SQL queries. And that's just one use case for leveraging Genie. Likewise, the many business processes within a typical enterprise can really leverage the framework of Genie to gain huge efficiencies in their business processes. The other example that I'll give right now is that of a intelligent bot that we've developed. We call it Ask Me. This bot essentially can sit over any dashboard that you have. And it doesn't just help you maneuver the dashboard with a voice command, but it also helps you drill down on any analysis or any charts and plots within the data within the dashboard by asking a simple English question. And it in fact, you can compare it to a Copilot or a Tableau GPT that you see, but the real benefit of Ask Me is that it's completely open source and it's completely amenable to any enterprise BI platform. So it's not really bound by a specific tool or a platform per se. And the third solution is Doc Interact, which in fact enables you to interact with thousands and thousands of documents that sits in some repository of your organization with, again, simple English Q&A. And in a fraction of a second, you can just write a question and you'll get your answers. The system essentially takes your input, understands your intent, which is the implied meaning of your question, and contextualize what it needs to search, and then it runs through the whole document repository to find answers for you. And the answer is then contextualized based on your question and given to you in the form of a very simple, intuitive answer. These solutions are in fact client ready. We have done small scale implementations of these solutions with multiple clients as proof of concepts. And these proof of concepts, I'm happy to say, has been very successful. For instance, with a large bank based in the Middle East, we just concluded the POC on Doc Interact, and it has helped them see the real potential of Gen AI. So much so that they really went out and have planned for a full scale implementation now, which we are planning for right now. See, talking about Ask Me, we did again a small scale implementation with a large social enterprise, and we are in fact talking to multiple clients at this point in time for full blown implementation, because the solution has matured to the point to really address some of the risks that comes with Gen AI implementation. And one such risk is that of data security. We have been able to really address the whole data security risk by internalizing LLM that works for our clients. These solutions are all real, and we have examples of real implementation with real clients, and we are scaling some of them to full scale implementations for our clients as well. And it comes from the fact that we are helping multiple clients at this point in time. I'm aware of at least two, wherein we are drawing up their AI or generative AI strategy, and we are trying to really align their Gen AI strategy with their data strategy and their business strategy as well. And it's very as going back to where I started when I said that Gen AI has taken a huge leap, right? And the recent times, and it in fact is one of the most important 21st century turn that technology has taken. And exactly why it's very imperative for clients to take a strategic view on how Gen AI can be leveraged within their organizations or within their business processes. And primarily because adopting J needs some key considerations on investment, on your current processes, on compliance, and on the internal risk of change management as well. Because a lot of people tend to have unrealistic expectations with Gen AI, thinking that it is some sort of an oracle that will really tell you the entire future, which it is not. And all these misconception basically comes from of people not knowing how technology or Gen AI really works. So it's really imperative for businesses to understand the risks and then take a strategic view on how Gen AI can be leveraged within their businesses, and what use cases absolutely needs Gen AI for gaining efficiency or gaining productivity. And what so essentially every business needs to really do a comparative analysis of what Gen AI can do for them, and how they can possibly leverage Gen AI through drawing out the right roadmaps that helps them balance the multiple factors, such as their current data maturity, their current technology maturity, their talent pool that can possibly support Gen AI adoption, and their current processes, whether they can possibly support Gen AI, or do they need to really redesign some of their processes to leverage Gen AI to the full extent. But there are two things that matters to business stakeholders when they look at data for business decisioning. One, they need the data fast, and number two, the data that they need has to be accurate. So speed and accuracy both are of paramount importance. And there are two things to Gen AI. Number one, it can generate content for you, and number two, it can really generate that content really fast. So, I'll just give you two examples while answering your question. Number one, to the point of data accessibility, right? And how GNAI really hastens up the whole process of making right data accessible to the right stakeholder, by cutting the whole requirement of giving data requirements to an analyst who can then translate that data requirement into a set of SQL queries, and then the analyst running the SQL queries to fetch the data back, and then formatting it to the in a structure that is more readable for the business user, and giving back the output to the business user. And you'll find every financial organization or otherwise also always has a set of analysts whose job day in day out is doing exactly this: translating business requirements into SQL queries, executing the SQL queries, getting the output, formatting it the right way, and giving it back to business. You will find this kind of a team invariably in every large organization in today's date. And nothing against this organization, but this whole process for every organization was set up at a time when they were working with normalized data tables, and they were working primarily on, and SQL has always been the tool through which you can interact with the databases, and it still is in fact a tool, but it is the most viable tool to interact with databases. So there's nothing wrong with it. Where GenAI essentially is helping, and we are in fact working with at least two of our clients, and one of them is, again, I'll go back to the large bank and Middle East, where we are speeding up this whole process of getting the right data accessible for the business stakeholders. By leveraging JNI, we have been able to cut the necessity of a human translating the businesses to a SQL query. So, Gen AI algorithms have become capable enough to really understand the business question in which comes in plain simple English, contextualize the business question in the context of the data that sits in the database, thereby generating SQL queries on the fly, hitting the database, getting the outputs, and then formatting that data in a form and shape that business will really align with, and giving that data back to the user. And all this happens in a fraction of a second. So what used to take days or at weeks earlier can now happen in a few seconds. So that's huge efficiency gain. But while I'm giving you this example, I would also like to really draw your attention to some of the boundaries that we had to draw. Now, and here comes the unrealistic expectations of some business stakeholders as well. We have been able to really optimize Gen AI usage on business data marts, which are really curated databases meant for driving few business use cases within a particular business division. Ge- it is imperative that Gen AI, in its current format or all the LLMs that you see in today's date, they are very good in contextualizing a small databases, because it will have a finite number of columns, notwithstanding the number of rows here at all. But it's the technology is not really matured enough to be run on raw databases. That's something that that's a boundary that we all has to understand. And with that context, we have been able to really successfully demonstrate to our businesses that Gen AI can make data accessible at a pace which was really unimaginable a few months back. So that's one. And the other example that I'd like to give here is on the document search capability that we've been able to build for the bank. Right? I mean, they were sitting on terabytes of document in all form and shape, in Excel, in PDF, in as images, in their document repository. And every knowledge management system in the current world typically uses a tagging system to really catalog documents and search them. But with the advent of GNAI, you, one can really automate the entire document filing system as well as document retrieval system. And that's what we have demonstrated to our client using an internal LLM during the course of the project, right? And it again gains our client. It has gained huge efficiency for our client, because a typical document search activity which used to take hours, if not days, now can be done at like in few seconds now. So AI technology and Gen AI technology itself is evolving. I mean, every day you see new things coming, and large corporations like Microsoft, Google adding to the pool every now and then. And I think what I'm saying is bolstered by the fact that Google launched its Gemini framework last week, which surpassed almost all the metrics of ChatGPT, and in capability and in accuracy as well. And it so everything said and done, the technology itself is leaping forward at a very breakneck speed. And with that being said, uh, I I think in the days to come, all these models are just going to be faster and more accurate as we move along. And again, going back to my where I started, right? And I equated this whole development to the anthropology or evolution of mankind, and how cognitive development happened in humans. And it's pretty much the same is what I feel. I think the technology will keep progressing as it has been in the past few years at a very fast paced rate. And the businesses really need to sit up and um, really notice the pace, and and really adopt the or really need to identify the key pointers that they can really leverage in their business context. Everything that is happening in JNI may not be readily adoptable for all businesses, right? And that's something that we need to really pay heed to. And this really bring me to the point which I made some time back, that businesses need to have realistic expectations from Gen AI or AI. And primarily because we have to appreciate that technology is for augmenting what we do. It's not for really solely doing our work. And with that in mind, we really need to set real expectations within ourselves, and we really need to set real expectations within our business communities. And with those real expectations, we will then be able to really see AI or Gen AI with the lens with a lens which will enable us to then trust the outputs that Gen AI and AI really creates, and will help us to then really leverage and implement Gen AI and AI use cases across our organizations. So and if you also look at another aspect, right? The whole evolution of Gen AI or AI has been really happening, or it's I mean, a lot of the evolution of this technology has to be really attributed to the way neural network research has progressed in the recent times. And I honestly believe, as a practitioner, I have really tracked the evolution of this whole paradigm of neural network very closely, wherein in a few years back we would use a few neuron based neural network models to deep learning models to transformer based models to multimodal models that Google Gemini has come out with. So I'm sure this is not the end, and it will keep evolving. But as businesses, I think we really need to be aware of how technology is progressing and how it fits into our business context by setting real expectations, by by building trust within our organizations around AI in general, and then by figuring out the ways of balancing the risks that Gen AI poses. And one of the ways is simply by internalizing the LLM models that you see out in the world today. Yeah, I mean, I'll just insist on three things there: realistic expectations at all times. Do not expect AI to be the oracle, which it is not. It is something that is there to help us augment what we do better and faster. That's one. Number two, build trust, because a lot of business stakeholders has this notion that it's going to replace humans in business processes, which I believe is totally unfounded for, and it stems from the fact that we do not understand how this technology works. So build trust within organizations, and number third, take a crawl, walk, and run approach, which we really insist on with all our clients, right? And alongside taking a crawl, run, and a walk approach, another thing that we insist with a lot of our clients is to be mindful of taking a mind plus machine approach while adopting Gen AI. You cannot really let AI technology ruling the roost in your organization without any governance. And exactly why the Evaluserve approach of mind plus machine is really relevant, and it rather is much more relevant in today's context while looking for adopting Gen AI. While machine enables you to do a lot of things, the mind portion always helps you govern the output of the machines. And that's how you can really adopt Gen AI or AI in real business context.